Hello, this is Michael speaking, PFC's Secretary General, talking to you about our membership fee revision process. Next week, we start with regional meetings to further discuss this revision process. I guess you will all remember we had an intensive discussion in Vancouver in May about the revision, about the impact of the application of a new system. And one of the key feedbacks that you gave during this Vancouver meeting, that you want to get more details about the background, this information, the data that was used to do the calculation. So this needed a while for a couple of reasons. Key reasons were that we lost more or less all know-how that was in the database behind the calculation, and we had to spend some energy and resources in the database to explain it in more detail. You received two files with an email with further information. One file you already know, the PDF file. That's the only a little bit modified text that you received in Vancouver. I recommend to read that just as a recap to understand the calculation process. The second file that you received is a Excel file, a database with lots of information. And actually, I tested it with a few NGBs and other people who said, well, we can understand it. However, you can try just by yourself to go to the data file, or you can listen and watch my explanations that I try to give. Apologies for the not very professional video. I'm just sitting here in front of my screen and do a self-recording with Zoom to show you those files. The further process, before I go into detail, just to recap that as well, we will have these regional meetings to gather some more detailed feedback, to have some more discussions with the background of the data, maybe if necessary, even to give some further explanations about the data. And during the PFC week in November, we will have a session to decide the next steps, how to go forward. You remember, maybe it was already communicated in an email that the one option is to further develop the system with more engagement by the members. So, for example, just to extend the existing task force with members for further considerations. But this will be decided during the virtual PFC week in November. So now, just going a bit into details with this file, with the Excel file. You see this file in case you have it in front of you. It's not just for one country. In this file, the information for all national governing bodies is included. You see here on top the name of the country, and you have here the drop-down option to choose your own country. You can go to all countries. I recommend not to try the too complex way. Just look at least start with your own countries to better understand the details. You have here at the bottom, you have several sheets in this Excel file. You don't need all of them. Actually, the key sheet is the summary raw that you can see here on the screen. The settings provide a bit general information with the legend, with the just legend, basic stuff, how to interpret it. The overview is maybe the more important if you want to go to some details, to calculation details. Where are the calculations coming from? You can trace that from this summary file. summary sheet. You have, of course, further detailed information that you theoretically can get all through the links here with the data sources, which are in this overview, so that you can check this in detail as well. So first thing that you have to do is to choose your country with this drop down. I start here with an example. Maybe I will jump later to another example. So you see, we start with the overview, forest management and chain of custody. Remember, there are a few basic assumptions or a few basic elements. The data is the deadline for the data was end of March this year. So it's based on the income from the previous year. Don't mix it with any calculations for 2024. We are talking about the 2023 and based on 2022 data. The basic assumption is there is a target fee income. The target fee income, the total budget is this 4.2 million. The first assumption or the next assumption is to say this target income is split in two parts, 50% resulting from FM income, 50% resulting from chain of custody income. The next important element is that this calculation is based on a cap. It's relevant for a few countries. The cap, choosing the proposal here in this calculation is 10% of the overall income. So you have the maximum fee of 420,950 as roughly 10% of the total income, the total budget. There are also minimum fees. You find this in the settings table, what they are for 4 different categories of countries: high income, upper middle income, lower middle income, and low income. This is following systematic delivered by the World Bank, and for those 4 categories, we have a minimum fee payment. So this first bit here gives you the overview, the comparison fee payment in the current model with this potential new model. You see for the new model, the FM fees, the COC fees, the sum of both, the so-called adjusted fee and the reminder fee. The adjusted fee is relevant in case that a country has a cap, or where the cap is applied, or a minimum fee. I show you one example. You don't see it here in the Indonesia case. The adjusted fee is the same like the aggregated fee, the summarized fee, FM and COC. I take one of the examples where the cap applies. It's here, Germany. When you see the German data, the theoretical fee based on the system calculations would be 508,000 and a bit. The adjusted fee with this 500 something, the cap is relevant. So the adjusted fee is the 420,000. I go back to the Indonesian example to explain another element, this reminder fee. The reminder fee results from the application of a cap and a minimum fee. You know, when you have the overall income, and you can see this in detail if you want in this overview table, when you have the overall income, you have a few countries where the cap applies and a few countries where the minimum fee applies. In this case, these cases are influencing, of course, the total budget through the cap, the total budget goes down because a bit of the split is missing with the calculation procedure. This missing bit is split on all the other countries where the cap is not applied. In this case, in the Indonesian case, we have this 1,434. You can see that in detail when you go to the overview, how this is calculated. You can see it even here further down. And you get as a total fee here this number. Just to show you again an example of a cap country, with this time I choose France. You have the calculated fee, 458,000, that's above the cap. So the cap is applied, 420,000. There is no remainder fee. This country does not get any amendment. And the difference, so this here in this example, you have a difference of 38,000 between the adjusted fee and the calculated fee. And this 38,000 is one of the elements that is split on the other countries to achieve the 4.2 million income. So this was already a bit the explanation that you can see here in the text. Again, we summarized it a bit in the text for the calculation. The second part is that's a bit easier when you just look into the calculation of the forest management fee. You see the data source, you see here the PEFC area. We are in France, the example for France, you see the FAO-based information for the overall forest in France and all the other information that is necessary for the calculation. So you can go to that, you get the FM fee for the country. Based on this, you see in the next step the chain of custody fee, how it's calculated for the country. Here, just important to say, to differentiate between the information where the turnover is available in the database, the percentage where the turnover is not available, because these not available certificates are calculated here with a flat fee of 150, and this flat fee delivers also their contribution of the points, and the other points that are calculated you see here with the different income bands. These bands, again, in the settings, you see it here. It's identified for each country's how many certificates are in this band and how many points are resulting from this number of the certificates. Maybe a bit fast, the explanations, but again, I assume that you read again the PDF file with the calculation explanation, and you can trace in detail how this is going. I tested it with a few NGBs without any further explanations, even without these explanations here. So just with the raw material, partially it was considered as self-explaining. For a few things like this remainder fee came some questions, what it means, what this table means. And hopefully this clarifies it for you now, what's behind these data details. During the regional meetings, you can, of course, ask any kind of questions. You can give your feedback to the data, whether the data is correct or not. Again, maybe basic feedback concerning the system as such. And there is, of course, still a lot of time between these regional meetings and the PEFC week, where we have then the further discussions. So hopefully these explanations help a bit. If you have any questions, before the regional meetings, don't hesitate to send them by email, maybe. Otherwise, I hope we have some constructive further discussions, further conversations in the following meetings. Thank you for your attention. Bye.